All right, here we go. Chapter 25, Time Management. They say timing is everything. Maybe we should have made this the first chapter of the semester, but nonetheless, here we go. No one has any more than 24 hours in a day. No one has any less than 24 hours in every day. Time is the great equalizer. Therefore, there's only two things that you can do with time. You can use it or you can waste it. The 24 hours of time that you have must be managed because there is exactly the same amount of time for everyone, both for you and for your competitors. So the way that you manage your time, the way that you take advantage of time and put it into certain chunks as much as you're able to, and think about the process of how you do things in a certain way, in a certain time, in a certain fashion. Those things are going to be really advantageous to you in order to accomplish things first, accomplish things better, and accomplish things in such a way that you can go and do the things that you actually really want to do. Planning begins with setting goals on a yearly basis and setting objectives on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis. So you can kind of think about this in terms of, when you're creating a vision and mission for a company, that it'll break it down into goals and certain objectives and things like that, and that you put certain timestamps on these things. We're kind of doing the same thing in terms of ourselves here. So let's start with what you should do annually first. Write down your goals, because you not only have to keep track of your goals as the year progresses, but also because when you write your goals down, you increase your commitment to them. We've all heard that idea when it comes to contracts and agreements that if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. It's kind of the same idea here. If you actually physically write down what your goal is and you have it somewhere where you can see it, it acts as an accountability piece for you to help you ask yourself on a regular basis, how am I doing on that certain thing? And it forces you to stop and take stock in what's happening or what's not happening. Overall goals, a goal must be measurable. We've talked about different ways that we can set goals. There's the SMART goals platform that many people use. There's also MADCUD that we've talked about in this class in particular. Whether you use one of those or something else, that you think about the goals that you put in place. But the one thing that is the same across the board is that you want to be able to measure your goal. There has to be some sort of metric or standard that your goal can stand up against. You also don't want to have too many goals. The author suggests not having more than 5 because if you have more than that, you lose your ability to focus. So goals here ought to be things that, yes, they're measurable, but they're things that are going to take a little bit of effort and time for you to be able to concentrate on and think about that particular goal. Now, let's talk about a couple different types of goals here. Task goals. What are the tasks? What are the activities that you must undertake in order to achieve each of your goals? When you answer that question, it helps you in terms of helping to keep your goals measurable. So if you have a goal for being able to accomplish this certain thing, and you're already this percentage of the way there, that gives you a bit of a standard to which you can think ahead about how you're going to make it the rest of the way. Or if you're starting at 0, what you need to do in order to get out from 0. How do you start? Improvement goals. You can set 4 to 6 improvement goals in a year. This helps you to focus on one improvement goal at a time. You don't want to try to change a bunch of things in your life at once. Perhaps one thing builds on another, but if you can really focus on one particular thing at a time for your own personal well-being, that's something that's a lot more manageable in being able to, think about that thing, think about the action steps, accomplish those action steps, and turn that into something that's habitual to the point that you don't even have to think about it. Yearly planning is more general in nature. It's not bogged down with specific details. So You don't need to have a yearly to-do list. Think of this more as a map. This is how we kind of talk about things in terms of vision. Where do you see yourself after the course of a year? And the actual objectives that you lay down, that's the route that you use to get to where you want to go. Organizing. This is something that you should do on a monthly basis. Every month, review your progress towards achieving your yearly overall goals, task goals, and improvement goals. And then make adjustments as necessary. Be honest with yourself. Maybe even seek feedback on some things from others, that they can be an objective judge as to what you are doing. And, take that into account, into consideration, and make whatever adjustments are needed. Now, here's where we start getting into to-do lists. The longer that a to-do list is, the worse it's going to be. You don't want to have pages and pages and pages of things that you want to do, because you're going to look at it and say, where do I even start? So you want to try to keep your to-do list short and manageable. Here's how you can do that. As you list your things that you want to put on your to-do list, put that list down, then take a look at it, and then start being realistic. What are the priorities? Label them. What's most important? What's next important? So on and so on and so on. And then as you go into your monthly checkup on yourself, take a look at that to-do list. And as you're making adjustments to what you need to do to accomplish your goals, you may also want to scrub the to-do list and eliminate things that are not a priority, or things that perhaps you've determined are not really all that important for you to accomplish. Check with your boss or your team leader on your priorities. Make sure you agree on your priorities, because you could have all these lofty goals, but if your supervisor is not in tune with that, or says that he or she wants you to do something different, well, then there's an adjustment that you need to make right there, or perhaps make decisions on whether that's an environment that you want to work in. Put a deadline on each item so that you will know by what date an item has to be completed. This can help you in setting the priority for what needs to be done first, or what can be pushed off, and that sort of thing. Look at your calendar for the upcoming month and enter previously scheduled appointments, then fit in tasks according to agreed upon priorities, so that you are being a good team player when it comes to collaborating with others, or things that have to get done for the sake of the company as a whole, but that you're also working towards the things that you've personally set out. It's vital that you have only one calendar that you work with, and you want it to be able to sync across different things that you work with, your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, so that you enter something in one place and then you can see it on another platform somewhere else. It makes it easy for you to be able to track what you need to do on a regular basis when everything is kind of one-stop shopping. On a weekly basis, you ought to clean up and maintain your appointments, your tasks, your to-do lists, just to make sure that everything's on track. It also helps you to very quickly look and see what you have done, what you still need to do, maybe remind you of something that was a priority and somehow you forgot about it. Make sure you check on that at least on a weekly basis. Now, what you do daily. You want to make sure that you set a time in your daily routine to create your daily to-do list. You should do this first thing in the morning, first thing you walk into the office. Grab your cup of coffee, open up your to-do list, and check things out. Take time to look at your email. When you do this, try to keep it organized. Don't let things pile up in your email. Look at the things that you don't necessarily need to keep and delete those things. Things that you've already answered, things that you've forwarded off, things that perhaps someone else is better to handle, and just take care of that. Get those things done and out of the way. Also, there's a saying out there: friends do not let friends reply all. Unless it's necessary for you to keep everybody in the loop on something, avoid hitting the reply all button. When you reply to somebody, make sure that you reply only to the people that really need to hear what it is that you have to say. Unsubscribe to emails that you do not need. In a world where we kind of click on things and enter our email address in order to get free pamphlets and things like that, we wind up getting a lot of spam. Unsubscribe from that, or get it put into your spam folder, and check your spam folder occasionally, but that's one way to not get bogged down with that when you're trying to get other things done. Be tough on yourself. Do the hardest and least fun and most difficult tasks first. That way you can reward yourself with doing the easier and more fun tasks later in the day when it gives you something to look forward to when you're still sitting in the office or still having to focus on work. And you're going to find that that rewarding thing to do, or that easier thing to do, or more enjoyable thing to do at the end of the day is going to end your day on a much brighter note and take a little bit of stress off of you. Set a time limit on each appointment and on each meeting that you have. Don't let other people control your time agenda. Don't let people just go on and on and on and on and on. Oh, sorry, I'm going on and on. But, focus on things. Keep to a time limit. Respect other people's time in that regard as well. And, if you have other things to do, don't be ashamed or afraid to say, look, I've got something else going on. We got to keep to a time schedule. And make sure that you stay committed to that. If you add an item to your to-do list during the day, drop something. This might be something that you have to do in conjunction with your supervisor. Maintaining a good work balance. Don't get overbogged with things. Because if you allow others to control your to-do list, it's no longer your list, it's theirs. Keep control of what you are doing on a daily basis. When you have a big task, break it up into smaller chunks. Work uninterrupted on those chunks of work. You want to make sure that you're able to focus on those particular things. Work on that project chunk until it is finished. This is, many people call this being task-oriented. And thinking about, if I've got one thing and I sit and I do it until it's done, that helps to relieve stress as well, because you're not leaving something unfinished and then have to come back to it. And many times you kind of have to rehash what you were doing and think about things before you get back into it, and it actually makes the task longer. So consider smaller chunks, working on chunks, being task-oriented. Don't put too many items on your daily to-do list. You want to make yourself feel like a winner. Don't leave a bunch of stuff hanging on your to-do list that you have to carry over into the next day and to the next day. That's stressful. And do just one task until it is finished. Try hard to not multitask. It divides your attention. It actually makes both of those tasks longer for most people. So try to focus on just doing one thing and doing that thing well. Keep your desk and your computer organized. Your desktop should be as uncluttered as possible. Have only on it the minimum number of things, the things that you need on a very regular basis. Various program shortcuts, maybe a couple of templates that you use on a regular basis. Those are okay for your desktop. But don't have stuff all over the place, because if nothing else, it makes you have to look for the things that you're trying to click on and use. Also, make sure that you take notes on all of your business calls. And whether you use a tablet for that or, keep a document on your computer, make sure those things are organized. Organize your written communications. Create templates. Properly label them. Properly store them so that they're easy to find and easy to pull up when you need them. And organize everyone's time. Consider creating a policy for your team or your organization on no interrupt hours. Or quiet hours, as it's sometimes called in some businesses, where this is the chunk of time that you are focused on doing things at your desk, and that you encourage people to respect that time that you've set aside in order for you to be able to go through your daily routine. Some rules on controlling your time management. Rule 1, learn to say no. Try really hard not to be a yes man or a yes woman, but learn how to say no, but you want to do it in a polite and a respectful way. Guard your time in a way that you can get work done. If you volunteer for too many things, willing to help too many people with too many things, especially if it's things that they realistically can do themselves, it doesn't do you any favors, and honestly, it doesn't do them any real favors, at least in terms of pulling their weight in the workload. Rule number 2, eliminate distractions. Many experts who study how we use our time believe that we tend to interrupt ourselves, that we're the initiating cause of most of our distractions. So things like, taking a few moments and looking through your social media feed, or allowing other people to distract us and have those conversations. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. That can eat up a good bit of time over the course of a day or over the course of a week. And so think about that in terms of, again, that task-oriented sort of idea. When you set time aside to do something, get that thing done so that you can enjoy the free time later on. Rule 3, set a specific time for callbacks. In the business world especially, it's great to make calls, especially to decision makers, either early in the morning or in the late afternoon, especially if you're dealing with someone that has an administrative assistant or someone that's sort of a gatekeeper that you reach out to before you reach the actual decision maker, because those decision makers usually work that 9 to 5 schedule. So if you call before 9 or after 5, you got a better chance of reaching the person you want to talk to directly. And then rule 4, allow time in your daily schedule for interruptions. Allow the time as is appropriate for your particular position. So, if you're more in a management or a decision maker position, you may need to allow more time for people to be able to approach you. Open door policies are great, but it's also okay to restrict when that door is open. Now, evaluating. The evaluating step in time management involves keeping a time log every 6 months to track everything you do in a typical day, and then objectively evaluating how you spend your time. There's an example of this in your textbook that you can take a look at. And basically what you're trying to do when you do this evaluation is ask yourself if there's anything that you might eliminate, or some tasks or things that you might be able to combine or be able to do at a different time that makes a little more sense. Take a look at those things and see if there's a better way to control all that you do over the course of a day. To make certain that you are being as productive as possible, you should take into consideration your metabolism and your natural rhythm cycles. So, get to know your body. Know what's healthy for it. Know what it can handle. Know what tires it or stresses it out, and avoid those things. This might be a opportunity for you to take a look at what you do for physical fitness or for diet and things like that to help you to be able to have good stamina throughout the day. And our day is done, at least as far as you listening to me. You still got to turn in your notes and your study questions, fill out the survey, all that sort of stuff. Maybe you have some tips on what works for you for time management and for setting goals and all that sort of thing. I'd love to hear those things when we get together for class. These are one person's opinions on how to put things together. We all have different temperaments. We all approach things in different ways. What works for you? What have you found that doesn't work for you? Let's share our secrets and strategies when we get together.